Are you afraid of being a victim of random violence? Well, the media says that you should be. Take a look.
Sickening game playing out on the streets of cities across America with dangerous results.
Criminals taking aim at innocent victims, aiming to knock them out with a sucker punch. Lawmakers and civil rights leaders with a new push this morning to try to stop this disturbing behavior before somebody else gets hurt or even killed. ABC's Rob Nelson is here with details. Rob, good morning.
Good morning, guys. This is tough to watch. It is known as the knockout game, a violent national trend often caught on video that is downright disturbing to watch, hitting major cities across the country. This twisted game has authorities on high alert and its victims left stunned and sometimes badly injured.
All right, that was a shocking video. I always find it interesting when they feel that something terrible is happening, but then they'll show the same video over and over and over again.
Traumatize people.
And they traumatize people. I think that there's a lot of fear-mongering. I'm not trying to say that this isn't a problem and that we shouldn't do something about it, but they keep saying trend. But what does that mean? Can you please provide some numbers? I mean, you act as if this is some sort of epidemic. I want to know how often it happens, where it happens, why it happens. So let me open it up to the panel. Lee, what do you think? Are you worried about the knockout game?
Terrified. Yeah, I mean, it's a bullshit story. It's not, it's happened 4 times. But I am a big supporter of it, though, because I think we have too much security in this country, and I think people need to be more afraid. And I think but literally, though, life is weird, and we can't be protected from everything. You can't cover your kid in Purell 24/7. Life doesn't happen behind plexiglass. I don't think you can protect from every goddamn thing that happens. Oh, let's put padding on every sharp corner around the world.
Okay, so let me play devil's advocate a little bit, because I mean you do see this happen time to time. I don't know how often it is. I'm not going to call it a trend until I actually see numbers in front of me. But to know that people get enjoyment out of going around New York and sucker punching someone to the point where they knock out, they're unconscious. That is scary, scary stuff. I mean, I'm worried about it, like not to the point where I think it's going to happen to me, but I'm worried about how people think that if they do this type of behavior and if they put it on video, they're somehow going to become famous. There's like this obsession with going viral online.
I'm guessing adolescent boys are doing this. This is a typical tribal gang, my penis is bigger than yours type of thing. It's about proving yourself to your peers, and I think it's
not all school teachers, female school teachers. I thought it was.
Well,
they were the ones.
One.
Yeah,
just the one. But the kid deserved it. So I'm thinking this has pretty much been going on since the beginning of humans in one form or another. And yes, it is terrifying to think about someone just coming up and sucker punching you. But I grew up in LA.
Cavemen, they would draw it as they were doing it.
Or they would hit you with a stick. But I grew up in in LA here during the gang wars, and I used to, the fear-mongering of the local news was, drive-by shootings, you're going to be shot on the 405, and yes, it happens, and it happens every once in a while, but I see this as a very trend. It's a trend because 4 people in the media have talked about it.
Right. It's a trend because 4 people in the media have footage of it, and it does really, really well with ratings, and they can play it over and over again and pretend like this is some really big problem that's happening every single day in America in every single city. Avi, what are your thoughts? Is this something that could possibly have anything to do with race? Because I'm seeing a lot of pundits in the media talking about how, oh, this is black on white violence. A lot of the perpetrators here are black. A lot of the victims are white. In some cases, the victims are also Jewish, and some believe that anti-Semitism might play a role in these knockout games.
So the controversial thing about this trend is not whether it's sick and wrong to knock somebody out on the street who you don't know. The big controversy here is whether or not this is a trend. And this gets at an issue which is perceptions of human nature, which is another one of those underlying clusters of personality traits that I discuss in our political nature that separates people on the left and the right in political spectrums all around the world. And people who are on the left tend to have a more rosy view of human nature as being more cooperative, and people on the right, because of that larger right amygdala and some other features of their physiology, tend to be more attuned to danger. And so that's what's controversial here. I think it's wonderful that you're asking about statistics and trends, because to be scientific, we really should know what's going on. And the other issue is this an instance of communal violence, or is it a hate crime? Should it be prosecuted differently? I think if there's evidence that this is a hate crime, it should be prosecuted in a different way. It wouldn't surprise me if it were, because when you look at statistics in Europe and the United States of some of these crimes, they do seem to be on the rise. But it's definitely a disturbing story.
Yeah.
Isn't it interesting that when it's on a face-to-face level, when it's someone hitting someone in the face, we're so disgusted by it, which we should be, yet people seem to have less trouble with like a big bank destroying someone's life by an illegal foreclosure or whatever other practice is. It's like that, you know, these people probably get up and have a hurt face the next day, whereas people's lives are destroyed and we're like, well, it's business as usual. That's
Yeah, I think you make a really good point there, but I should note, in all fairness, there have been cases where people have been sucker punched in this way and they've died.
So I should stop?
Yes.
It's not
I'm sorry.
fun and games anymore, is it, Lee? But you do make a good point, because I mean, what Wall Street has done, what the big banks have done, that is a real trend, right? They've done it to so many Americans, and so many people have been hurt as a result of that. So to compare that to a few isolated incidents is a really good way to kind of visualize what's going on in society right now.
But that goes to, you know, it's really easy to do a story like this. I mean, the visuals are there, and then to really explain how the banks destroy people's lives, it's going to take 10, 15, 20 minutes. And I'd be curious to know, from what you know in your data, you know, why it is it's so much easier to tell these easy stories, and, you know, and really the big things that really do affect our lives in this country are really complicated, and those are the ones that are impossible to.
What if they show that punching video, but one person's face says Chase Bank and the other person says homeowner?
That would work.
Well, maybe the reason is because throughout our evolutionary history as a species, getting knocked on the back of the head was an important challenge for staying alive. And our ancestors didn't live in a world of complex financial vehicles and all of these bundled mortgage securities, whatever they're called. So it's a bit abstract. It's like global warming. It happens on a scale, a professional scale, that most people aren't used to, in the same way that climate change happens on a time scale that we're not attuned to. So it doesn't really capture your attention.
And drone bombing, since we're pushing the buttons, since we're pushing the buttons in Las Vegas, you know,
It's not a real
we're not
direct
feeling
action.
the impact of it.
Yeah.